Yeah.
Oh, hi, gorgeous.
But just
Hello.
We only do the Zoom meeting so we can talk to one another.
Yeah,
You should know that.
I know, right?
Exactly.
it's okay. It's fair enough. I like to reunite people. It's okay.
All right, let's get this going.
Okay, well, first things first, congratulations on the Oscar nods.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is number 1 for Aaron, number 2 for Patty, and number 5 for Matthew.
5th nomination.
It's not a bad thing, is
You're
it?
very
Me
fancy.
too.
You're very fancy.
Okay, it's the age-old question, but where were you when the nominations were announced?
Aaron,
Under the covers.
Patty.
I was in bed,
Fair enough.
but I always get up because it was at like 5:20 or something in the morning in Los Angeles. But I always get up and watch anyways because I'm a big fan. So, but it was a little different this year. So my husband filmed it, and it was
Very
pretty crazy.
touching.
So he did.
Aw,
It was very touching.
that's
Yeah,
fair enough.
I was
then.
surprised at how emotional I was.
All right, well, I'm just going to go right into Hillbilly Elegy. Was there anything that drew any of you to Hillbilly Elegy in particular, or was it more contract thing?
I think Patty and Matthew were on the show before me, so they should go first.
Okay, go on then.
Well, I
Well-
got a call from Glenn, and she said I think she was probably the first call that she made when she got the role of Mama, and she said, I've got this role and it's called Hillbilly Elegy and it's Mama, and I'll send you a picture of her. I think I only need a nose tip. And I said, oh, okay, well, I'll make that for you. I got the picture. I looked at it and called her back, and I said, we need to do a bigger nose and a nose tip, but we won't go on the sides, and then definitely bigger ears. And she said, okay, great. So I flew to New York. We did a test. She loved it. Ron Howard was there. She got into character when he walked in, and it just bowled him over. He loved it. And it's just wonderful working with her because she's just such a consummate actress, and she just gets into these roles, and she doesn't mind wearing prosthetics, and very subtle prosthetics too. So it was great, and that's how I got involved.
Okay, do you want to go next, Patty?
All right. I received a phone call from a fine producer, Diana Picorni, and she invited me to come work on the show, and I was so excited, especially when I heard it was Ron Howard. I don't know that I knew all the cast at that.
Oh, well. You've hit mute,
Well,
Patty.
you just went.
I tell you.
It's okay.
Can you hear? You can hear
We
me
can
now,
hear you
right?
now.
Okay. Yeah, so she told me a little bit about this show and that Amy Adams was connected with it, and I had worked with Amy on a couple other projects. So that excited me, and I don't know that I knew about Glenn at that moment, but we started to discuss makeup artists, and there was a bit of a list of people given to Diana from various other makeup artists, department heads, and from myself. And I gave her my list of people, and we whittled it till we got the best one.
Fair enough.
Oh my gosh.
And is the best one Erin?
Well, yeah.
Well, let's transition to Erin then through that. How did you get involved? Is that the way?
I didn't know that Patty was involved. I didn't know anyone was involved, but Diana called me. I had worked with her before on a movie called My Sister's Keeper. And when her name came up on my phone, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe she's going to call me for a project. And it was for Hillbilly Elegy. And she said Ron Howard. And I was just like, just drop everything to do that, because that was a dream job. And then when she started to mention Amy, I thought, I wonder if Patricia's involved. And sure enough, Patty and I had worked together for many times, and we were friends. And so she had kept it on the down low for a while, and then they pretty much hired me right then on the phone, and then
Awesome.
I found out right after that Patty, and then I found out that Matthew was on it. I'd worked for Matthew years ago, and it was one big happy family.
Yes, and when I found out Aaron was on it, I was relieved because I knew the prosthetics were going to be applied excellently.
Right.
Oh,
Oh,
That's
thank
right.
you.
it's nice when everyone
Yeah.
gets along. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great.
so
I know we were all really excited to be on a project that Ron Howard was directing. It's like Erin said, I know it was a dream for her. She expressed how she always wanted to work with him, and it just was a bit unreal when it was all happening. We were so excited about it, and so we started to listen to the audiobook. I know Erin started doing that, and I thought, well, that's a really good idea. So I did the same and, read the book too. So just to get that background before we started.
fair enough. So you've all had really long careers. Erin and Matthew in particular have been in the game for a long, long time. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, and Patty too. Yeah, we all have.
Patty. Sorry, Patty. I didn't mean to single you out.
Sure, and
I know, well, I'm so much younger
No.
than both of them.
Yes.
Oh,
But what I was wondering was, what was it working like so closely with Glenn Close and Amy Adams? And Patty, I know you worked with Adams on Vice, where you worked on her to an Oscar, so that's never a bad thing. And then Matthew, you worked with Close on Albert Nobbs. I know that much.
mhm.
So what was it like working with them again, or for the first time, even?
Go ahead. Patty.
I have to say, when I found out Glenn Close was going to be in it, I got a little nervous
Me too.
because I've seen all of her work. I really admire her as an actor. And, I was in love with the movie Albert Nobbs and knew that Matthew did that. And I thought, oh, wow, am I going to be able to raise the bar as high as what she's used to, and I know her wig maker, Martial Carnival, that, he has been working with her for years. And there's just this level of expertise that, it pushes you, which is all great for all of us, to step outside and go, all right, I'm going to do it. So it was great. My first meeting with Martial and Glenn was in New York. I flew there, went to his apartment. Glenn arrived with their little dog. So right away, that made me feel at ease. Once the dog's around, everybody's happy. So we tried on both the wigs. They were gorgeous, fit like a glove. And, those two have a friendship and a long relationship. And they made me feel very comfortable and included me in the entire process. So that gave me a little bit more self-confidence that I was doing the right thing. And if I worked hard and really paid attention to all the details, things would turn out pretty good.
Well, it seems like they have, to be fair. Matthew and Erin, you got anything else you'd like to add on working with Adams and Close?
Working with Glenn is always a treat because she loves prosthetics. I mean, especially, I think we have a great working relationship because I do subtle prosthetics. I love doing small pieces that, when the viewer, moviegoer looks at it, they say, well, I didn't know they were wearing prosthetics. That's when your artistry is good, because to do subtle prosthetics is harder than to cover somebody's face with prosthetics.
Yeah.
And make it look realistic. So I think that's why we work together so well. And Albert Nobbs just started it out. I think I resculpted that nose 2 or 3 times for her, but it's just a great working relationship with Glenn. Every time she calls, it brightens my day.
And
Erin,
same with
you-
Amy. Amy's a
Okay.
star to work with. She's just, so respectful of the makeup and hair artistry and understands how hard we work to make everything look just right and make it to a point where they're so comfortable they don't have to think about it. They can focus on their acting and not worry about, the pieces, the makeup, Um, is the wig on properly? You know, none of that's in their mind, which is always the goal that you want to achieve. And I really enjoy working with Amy. She's such a talent.
Working with Amy Adams and Glenn Close just seems like the best scenario to be in, to be honest.
No kidding, right? And the
Well,
rest of the cast was amazing.
oh yeah, like just it's almost like film just to have the most likable people in Hollywood. Just add Tom Hanks, and I think it'd be perfect. Erin, you got anything to add with working with Close and Adams?
Well, I hadn't worked with either of them. And then when I found out that it was going to be Amy, this is before, I mean, Matthew had already done the tests on Glenn at that point. And I found Diana had told me that a couple phone calls later that I would be doing Amy and Glenn, and that there were prosthetics on Glenn. And you know, I was like, well, I'll figure it out. Like I want to do both of them. I don't want to give either of them away. That's like a jewel, it's a present that someone has given you to be able to do that level of actor. And I knew that Patty had worked with Amy several times and how much she enjoyed working with her. So I was really looking forward to it, and I was ready for the pressure and getting everybody done, because we also had a minor that we worked with all the time, which meant that we had a very constricted schedule on getting the two of them ready. They also are experienced actors that have worn prosthetics and wigs before, so they know how long things should take. They don't want to waste any moment in the chair where they can be working on their character or, you know, taking care of what they need to before they get to set. And I'm a fast makeup artist, and I know where to speed things up. So I figured I was a good person for the job, and I just went into it optimistically. I had a great team though. And Jamie Hess was my big backup there on making sure that I got Glenn done in a very quick amount of time, so that I could do Amy as well. But I couldn't wait to work with either of them. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of both of their body of works, and what an exciting film to be able to work on, even though it was challenging, but that's what makes you a better artist. So I loved it.
All of production was before COVID-19, so you didn't have that difficult, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's always a good thing then, isn't it? I guess I'll use talking about Close and Adams to transition on to what was the process of the makeup design for the characters, and did it bring any difficulties?
Well, it started with Matthew, and he created this beautiful look for Glenn. And of course, Patty had already tested the wig. So I kind of knew going into it, I was taking over Matthew's design and you know, replicating what he had already done. And then I decided that Amy should have a little bit of a wider nose. So I had my pal Dave Anderson at AFX make me two little pieces to go on the end of Amy's nose, to widen it a little bit so that she could have a little bit of more thickness here at the end to look a little bit more like Bev. She also was gaining weight for the part, so I wanted her very petite features to look a little fuller. And then I did a very hard makeup on her, very sun damaged, and a little bit harder beauty makeup. And of course, then later on, she has like a drug addled look with very aged skin. And Patty did another beautiful wig on Amy for that. And so it kind of started with looking at pictures and research and looking at the characters and how they aged and what they looked like. But it was, you know, for me, I think it was just a few weeks, or maybe at the most a month, to get all that together for Amy and figure that out. And of course, talking with Matthew and making sure that his look was fulfilled on camera. So, and then figuring out how to get to do both of them at the same time. And Patty and I we sat down and kind of did a game plan and figured out where we needed to put each actor to get them in and out of the trailer in a good period of time.
Matthew, didn't you focus mainly, I'm looking now, so you worked mainly with Glenn Close, am I right? For this job even?
Well, yeah, lately, because I'm retired.
Well,
I mean, if she calls, I'm there in a second. So, but I have picked up a couple of jobs since then. So I don't know if I'm retired or not.
Just
I'll
as you
always
think,
find you, Matthew.
I mean, I'm looking at your IMDb.
I know.
Just like The Irishman, just when you think you're done, they
No.
call you back in, mate.
Oh, careful.
Exactly.
Patty, you work specifically on hair, am I right?
That's right.
Was there any difficulties or anything new that you had to bring in terms of designing the hair for Adams and Close, or was that equally a breeze?
Was it a breeze? Is that what you
Well,
said?
I don't want to say a breeze. That sounds a bit rude, but like, just did it bring any new difficulties?
Well, wigs, they're always different. Every day they're different for you. It's like hair. One day you wake up and you have good hair, and the next day you have bad hair. A wig's the same way. It's your best friend. Goes on simply. Everything looks great. The lace stays down. The weather's good. All's looking fine. Then the next day, it's 100% humidity, and they're in a car. So, that's what we dealt with on that show. Aaron chasing the sweat, and I was chasing the hair from being wet against their skin and their necks, and is the lace going to stay down? So yeah, we had some challenges just because of the conditions that we were under for this show. You can never just relax with the wig, though. You're
No.
constantly looking at all aspects.
I mean,
And resetting it, you reset it constantly every night.
Oh,
You
yeah.
had to
That's
redress
right. Yeah, I mean, I had to be redressed every night to get that good frizzy look. And
did Close have to sleep in the hair?
no.
Oh, okay, that's all right then. Because
No,
obviously,
at the
like
end
you're
of the
saying,
night, they get all cleaned up and beautified,
because
and
obviously
then
it's
we
meant
continue
to
to
be
work.
crazy hair, so thought maybe
Yeah.
like she would. Fair enough. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're like me and Matthew, then the whole hair issue won't be an issue. But I can understand for
Yeah, that's true.
character, it's a bit different.
We'll get some wigs for you all.
Oh, it's
No.
alright. Hopefully, my hair will grow
Look
back
at
soon
Matthew.
enough.
No,
I am not wearing a wig.
hey, I agree, Matthew, and
Maybe a little toupee just on the top.
To be
well,
fair,
I've got lots of those.
most people who are bald, and this includes you, Matthew, most people I notice who are bald, it really suits them, doesn't it? I find, at least.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's good. I was handsome, very handsome.
Um,
Thanks.
Especially Close, because obviously it was such thick makeup on her face. Were there any health and safety precautions that you had to really consider?
Well, she didn't have she had all the aging and all of the freckling and all the, ruddiness and everything was all hand painted on. So that was directly on her skin. I didn't use any foundation. So that was all painted. And then her nose, which was a little bit, it was bigger. And then her ears were much bigger. But the rest of her face was all done. That was all done by hand. All the aging was done by hand, and all the wrinkles were painted in. Everything was painted. So it wasn't, it was very, you could see her skin through it though. So that was all coming through. So she didn't have on like a ton of makeup. It was just all very specific and little dots done all over her face. So, and I went without airbrushing because I didn't want it to be heavy. I wanted it to be very organic. So the same thing with Amy. I did the same process. I also knew that because the camera we were using was very film quality camera, an HD camera called the Sony Venice, which is very high quality film type camera. And I knew that we could get away with a little bit more of the painting, like, as opposed to full coverage. So it actually was quite a transparent makeup.
Yeah, when I first watched it, which was back in November, I believe it was released in the UK on Netflix. The first thing I remember saying to my parents who I watched it with was Adams even wearing makeup? And then when I did research, I realized it was, and that's when I kind of saw the magic in the makeup in Amy Adams and Close's characters, because it's so just unnoticeable. It's extremely subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're both beautiful women too. So
Yeah.
they have this gorgeous skin, right, Erin?
Beautiful skin. Glenn has, beautiful skin. There's nothing crepey about it, or there's no wrinkles, and very fine textured skin, beautiful hair, beautiful skin, the whole bit. It's like it's amazing. Same with Amy, like just flawless women. And so not only is it exciting to get to make them look very different, but it is challenging too to bring that much texture to somebody's skin that doesn't have the texture. So they don't even have a pore, these two women, no pores. So it was that's very challenging in itself, is to create something like that.
Okay. Erin, I'd like to turn to you because we're here sat talking about makeup, but you've also found yourself a successful career in producing a film, right?
In what? I'm sorry, what was it?
In producing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
Christ.
do some producing through Ryan Murphy television, and it's like kind of like an aesthetic producer and creative producer. So I oversee his shows, not all of them, but some of them, to make sure that they're in the same vein and look the same quality across the board. So I help kind of fill out the makeup and hair positions if it's needed, and then be bossy here and there, but I don't have to be I don't have to deal with any money parts, so that's great. I don't like to say no, I like to say yes.
The silence was deafening. I thought I just was doing research on the wrong person.
Benjamin, if I may say, while we were shooting Hillbilly Elegy, Erin was doing her producer job as well as everything we had to do on this movie, which was all consuming. She would be reading probably 6 different scripts, Erin, just keeping up with all the Ryan Murphy projects that were going on. So she was always doing her due diligence, talking to her team that were replacing her on her shows, making sure everything is covered there, wearing all these different hats, and then producing what you see on Hillbilly Elegy. So I have a lot of regard for the way she works.
Well,
Oh, youth. That's all I have to say.
I don't know if I would do it now after isolation. I realized that I was probably doing too much stuff after we had our pandemic isolation. I was like, "Ooh, I think I was reading too many scripts and taking on too many things."
Well, and it's interesting because our last thing we did was additional photography for Hillbilly Elegy, and that's when everything went into lockdown. So it's really the last project we did before the pandemic.
That week, yeah.
I'm sorry, my heart rate's still calming down from that scare that I got. Oh my god. So what I was going to ask is, do you consider yourself more of a producer or makeup artist now then?
Oh, makeup artist, 100%.
Well, you say that about your producing, but let's not forget you've got an Emmy in producing, and that can't be a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's great.
I mean,
But how many Emmys do you have for makeup?
7.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you're I was included on that show on Versace, and there was so much going on with that, and it's a real honor to be included on that for producing, and it was really that was a really huge show, and but I was overseeing that show. I went on to another show while we were doing Versace, so I was overseeing that show as well, and yeah, it was crazy, but there is a lot of responsibility that comes with that, and sometimes you can do it and do your job well as a makeup artist, and sometimes you have to say, I can't oversee that, it's too much to take on. So I know my limits, so I do what I can.
Good for you. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
I've got one final question, and it's a technical one, and it's with, obviously, as you probably know, visual effect. I know that with films like The Irishman, which you also worked on, didn't you, Matthew? Coincidentally.
No.
On The Irishman?
It says on your IMDb you did.
Yeah, no, I did. I did. I created pieces for Robert De Niro, and then sent them to Carla White so she could apply them. But we were talking the whole time, and all the visual effects and digital stuff work on that film. I was just rolling my eyes, going, "How much makeup do you have to do once they then take it over and completely erase what you did?" So you have to do the best you can, and then they'll take it over. You know, when we started in the industry, there was no visual effects. You had to do 100%. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to look good because there was no touch up anything with makeup.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
um, not to be on the set on that one again was perfect because Carla did a beautiful job on
Did.
Robin. So Bob.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that you talk about visual effects. That's what I was about to get on. Do you worry for future generations that maybe would maybe get into hair and makeup, that visual effects is just evolving at such a dramatic rate that there may not be a future for makeup in films anymore, or at least big budget films?
No, I don't. I think there's always going to be a need for makeup. Now, it's a perfect blend when you do a great makeup and they go in and enhance it. Maybe a prosthetic that needs to be enhanced or something that needs to be taken away from the face. So there will always be the need for our creativity. However, you know, it's changing constantly.
Okay. You got anything to
Mhm.
say on it, Aaron?
No, I agree completely. I mean, we use post for all kinds of things. If there's someone, I mean, recently I've had where someone was hurt and has a small scab on their face, we can cover, post can take it out. You know, there's deepening prosthetics like for zombies, you know, where you're putting some green makeup in here to make it look more concave. It's the marriage of the effects and makeup. The same thing with if there's an issue with, you know, if the director doesn't like a flyaway hair or something, we can take that out. That's what it's best for. You know, de-aging sometimes for a flashback scene or something is fantastic. But especially for Hillbilly Elegy, we really didn't do much, hardly anything makeup or hair correction. We did do a little correction on the turtle. His little prosthetic edge was showing because he wouldn't hold still too long for me to lay down the edge too well. But so there's little things like that where you can go in and say, can you zhuzh that little part out right there? But for the most part, it's a great tool, and we work really well together with the visual effects people, and we were involved from you know, beginning to end on Hillbilly Elegy. And that's an incredible experience to be able to be involved all the way to the end through it. Actually, and I don't think Patty and I realized that that's the only time we were going to see Hillbilly Elegy on a full screen. No, I mean, we watched it on a full screen at the editing facility, and it was fantastic. And it was, but I think for a moment in the 90s, people were like thinking like makeup was going to be over, but it's really swung back the other way too. I mean, everything's been so much more practical. Going forward, I think they realize that practical is really much more identifiable, and it's much more relatable. So I think we're swinging back the other way. We have been for the past few years.
Well, yeah, I agree.
Think the visual effect. I think the visual effects people are more giving now than they were at the beginning. They were like, "Oh no, we could do it. We could do it all." It's like, and they weren't willing to work with you necessarily, and so it's swung the other way now. So it's good. They're it's a symbiotic kind of relationship.
Yeah, I have a great relationship with these VFX people. Really great.
So are you supporters of visual effects in order to enhance makeup effects then?
Oh yeah. Not necessarily like a full, not like Cats or something. I mean, that would have been beautiful with practical effects.
Well,
beautiful. I mean, Mark Coulier has been releasing some pictures of the makeups that he did on the tests. Oh, just stunning. And you know, that's like a crazy scenario in post that got so crazy. So I'm all for visual effects and makeup effects together, prosthetics together. You can tell right away if it's been done well or if it's been done poorly, not enough money has been spent on it. It costs, you know, sometimes more money to do it with visual effects than it does to do it with makeup. They just, you know, sometimes production wants to put it in a different category, in a different budget. Like, let's just put it back there in post. But it's It's much better to be able to have actors act against practical effects, blood, rigs, all kinds of stuff. It's better to do it practically.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, I do sometimes watch VFX film, and it's just like it's unnecessary. Just sometimes the old school ways are just the best.
Excellent.
I agree.
Yeah, it can be distracting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I know I said final question, but this is final question. We have more time than I thought. So, what would be your individual advice? Because anything in film, there's no like direct, like getting a job in McDonald's, you just apply online, hope to get it. Way of getting in. What would be your advice to anybody who's hoping to get into the hair and makeup in film?
Well, for me, I would say to them,
Always a
make
tough question.
sure that this is exactly what you want to do, because it is a hard business, long hours, go along with not only doing your makeup, but having to deal with other people and et cetera, et cetera. So make sure it's exactly what you want to do, because it can be very hard. And also just be true to yourself, because life is way too short. If this is not what you want to do, go do something else. So
Words of wisdom.
Absolutely. It should be your passion. It should be you should be so obsessed with it and love it so much, because it'll sustain you through times when you hate it. Because there are times when you're like, I am missing out on my mother's birthday, or I am missing out on that going out of town. I just booked this huge vacation for like just a week off, and you have to cancel everything. So you have to really love it, and you have to know your history about makeup and hair, and you need to love all aspects of it. You need to be diverse. You need to be able to do prosthetics and makeup effects and out of kit stuff and beauty makeup and period makeup and everything. I mean, there's no point. I'm not going to hire somebody that can't do all that. There's just no point. So I say diversity, and know that if you love it, you got to love it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like to have the final word, Patty? Oh, you're going to. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Sorry.
No. I'm sorry.
Well, of course, I agree with both what Matthew and Aaron are saying. It, you have to have a passion for it. It is a tough business. It's not all exciting and glamorous, as people say all the time, and a lot of sacrificing. Many benefits to it as well. And it's like anything else. If you're serious about it, you want to learn as much as you can about it. So I always tell new people, take every class you can. Anything you have time for, take a class. You'll learn something. And even from a hairstylist you might not think is a great hairstylist, you might still learn from that person. You might learn something about the way to use, a different technique or something. So always be open-minded to the craft and changing, and try not to get stuck into your little path and not looking forward, and find a mentor or more than one mentor, and let people guide you along and be open. I think it's really important to just keep feeding yourself with more knowledge throughout this industry, because we can get pretty drained from the hours that we work, and we have so many people to answer to. It can be very exhausting. So you do have to nurture yourself, and you have to feed yourself with something that's for you only and helps you express your talents.
And what a lovely word to end on, Patty. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. Patty, I wanted to say to you just before we left, are you aware there's a video on YouTube of somebody pronouncing your name for half a minute?
So would you say that again? I'm sorry.
There's a video on YouTube of somebody saying your name for 30 seconds.
Say my name?
There's somebody saying your name on YouTube, and it's how to pronounce it's Patricia Dehaney, right?
Dehaney.
It's somebody saying Patricia Dehaney for 30 seconds.
That's an Irish name,
Yeah, and there's a YouTube video of someone teaching people how to say it if you're interested.
Would you?
very cool.
No, there's a video on YouTube of somebody saying it.
What?
For 30
You're
seconds.
kidding.
No, there's not. It's on YouTube. I'll email it to you.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, send it to Patty. Send it to her.
I was pissing myself.
kind of mind blowing. This whole thing is always, I don't know. It's a whole different world. When we did the stuff for Vice, the young lady that was our liaison was like, "Girl, have you looked at yourself? You looked yourself up?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "You need to." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And she made me look at all this stuff, and it freaked me out. I was like, wow. I was like, they have seen me in everything I did for every awards that we were nominated
That's
for
the
that
internet.
book.
It's crazy, isn't it? How quickly internet picks up on you.
Wow. Yeah. So now they're pronouncing my name. That's great.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
love it.
on a funny note,
Awesome.
I'll leave. I'll let you all be. Good luck on. You're on set right now, aren't you, Erin? I see you're in the trailer. Oh,
I
well,
am.
thank you specifically then for joining. And Patty, I know you're particularly busy at the moment, so I thank you both very much.
That's all good.
Okay.
Thank you,
And-
Benjamin. Where are
Thank
you? Are
you
you
so
in
much.
London?
No, I'm in Bournemouth in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Bournemouth? You're in.
Where Christian Bale's from, actually.
Oh,
I've been there.
Have you? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh cool.
I was married in the UK.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
What part of the
Lincolnshire.
UK? Lincolnshire. Wonderful. Nice. That's a nice place to get married, Lincolnshire. To be fair. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much.
No, it's
Appreciate
okay. It's my
Cheers.
privilege, honestly. Thank you. I'm glad I could get you all together. Thank you all. Really. Thank you.
Benjamin, you're
thank
great.
you, Benjamin.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank you,
Benjamin.
Patty. That means a lot. Take care of yourselves. Hopefully, speak to you
All
soon.
right.
Bye, you
Good luck-
guys.
good luck
Bye,
with
you
the nomination.
guys.
Bye. We'll see you later.
Bye.
We need our own Zoom.